Good evening, Vancouver. I was just telling Clay that the volume settings were wrong, and I hit the mute button because it's a touchpad. Good evening. Hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to Canucks After Dark. It is Monday, November 6th. Not a good show if you don't start off with some technical difficulties. As always, joined by my co-host, Canuck Clay. How are we doing tonight?
Parker, I'm doing better than your microphone. No, actually, your setup's fine. I'm really glad that you got your power, your internet back. I'm glad that we have another Canucks win to talk about because we delayed by 2 days. So I'm doing fine. If Canucks are doing fine, I hope you're doing fine as well. And I love the way that we match backgrounds. It's almost like we're in the same room, almost, kind of. Oh, thanks a lot, man. No.
It's good to, I had power the evening that we were supposed to do our show. And then an hour before the show, Shaw decided that it didn't want to give me internet anymore. But I had internet when I woke up the next morning, which was great.
Good.
So,
Good.
I was able to watch the Canucks game last night. Thank goodness. I would have been sad and miserable if there was no power internet for more than the time I had. I hope everyone else is doing well after the big wind and rainstorm that we had.
Yeah, look, everyone's so concerned about you. Parker is alive. Glad your power's. Everyone cares, man. Everyone cares.
Me too. My camera's not doing great. As you can see, I'm frozen right now. That's going to be the theme throughout the night. You'll just have to live with it. Canucks had honestly, good thing we moved it, because instead of it being a 1-1 week where they barely beat the Sharks and got blown up by the Devils, it's a 2-1 week where they took care easily of Anaheim. And sure, that Devils game happened, but that's a long time ago now. So we can be much more upbeat. We've got Thatcher Demko discussion, Dakota Joshua. There's a bunch of stuff. A bunch of stuff is happening. And the Canucks, for how weird of a start to the season it has been, are on like 112 point pace. So there's, for all the weirdness and concern, it really feels like there's only really up from here, the way things have started, because there's a lot of potential for growth and improvement, but also the Canucks have had a pretty easy schedule. But we're going to talk about all that. We'll go through the 3 games. We will preview, what do we got? 2 games to preview, 2 pretty big games to preview, 2 of the better teams in the division. The Kings, who are obviously right above the Canucks in the standings in the Pacific, and the Oilers, who absolutely collapsed tonight to Vegas, blowing the lead in the third period, getting scored on in the last minute to not even get the OT point, which, look, Vegas is going to be annoying, as they always are, but the longer the Oilers can be below us, the better.
Yeah, agreed. And 2 themes I think are going to come out, Parker, as we dissect the 3 games, look ahead to the next 2. Yeah, you hit one of them. It's weird. Despite the Canucks' poor, inconsistent play, yeah, they're on a 112 point pace, which is better than last year. And I was talking to some friends at church tonight, and people that know hockey, and it's not like you have to know hockey to make this observation. This is with PD not playing well, no Garland, no Joshua, no Demko, and a lot of inconsistency among the D-core. So if we're getting these points while we're not playing well, admittedly against an easier schedule, then I'm more optimistic than pessimistic for sure. So that's the first thing is, yes, a bit of an unorthodox way of accumulating the points, but we've only lost twice in regulation. So that's a good thing. And I guess the other thing is, it's almost like you're getting your starting goaltender back in the next month. You're getting your middle 6 stalwart back in the next week or so. Things can even get better, which is pretty good, which is really, really good.
Yeah, we had a discussion at the beginning of the season, right? When it was, hey, Dakota Joshua was maybe 3 to 4 weeks out. Maybe Demko's 3 to 4 weeks out. And we sort of said, we looked at the calendar and we said, okay, in the first month, the Canucks are going to play 11 games. Right. That was sort of the math that we did, because the first game was on the 9th. And we said they'll have played 11 or 12 games by the time we get to, it was 11 games at the 4-week mark, which we're at right now. So in that 11 games, I think we had said something like, hey, if you're like 6, I think we said like 6-4-1 or something, or like 6-3-2. If you're somewhere around there, without Demko, without Joshua, then you're in a pretty good spot. And that's basically exactly what the Canucks have done, a little bit better than that, being 6-2-3. Obviously, those OT losses hurt a fair bit, but I don't think we expected to get here the way we got here, right? We thought Pettersson would have more impact. We thought Artur Shilovs would have more impact, and we thought Kevin Lankin would have less impact.
Yeah.
on how this team's doing.
We also thought we didn't think we'd be 1-1-3 at home, like 1 win in 5 games. That's not good. By the way, this is good. Thank you, Fangirl, for expressing your fandom, your membership for 28 months. That's got to be as long as we offered members. That's the highest number I've seen. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's awesome. You're right, Parker. So I think, and that's the crazy thing. Like, aside from Vegas and LA we play tomorrow, and Vegas, won again tonight. Calgary's come back to earth. Edmonton is struggling. I'm definitely not worried about Anaheim after watching that game last night.
No.
San Jose and Seattle still not good. Like, this division is set up for us to, and I think you and I both predicted second, third. Neither of us predicted them to win the division. But if it's going to be a battle between us, Vegas, and LA, then I'm all for it. And then, of course, you can't really count on Edmonton. So maybe those are the 4 teams that we're going to be looking at the end of the year.
Yeah, for sure. It's the Oilers obviously are going to be scary. They always are. Their goaltending is a problem. They've allowed, as many goals as anyone in the Pacific other than San Jose, which it's San Jose. They've got issues. It's really interesting to even look at the Central, right? Like the Jets are 12-1, which is absurd.
Yes.
But then looking at Colorado being 6-7. Nashville goes out and gets Steven Stamkos, and they've
the
won
darling of the offseason. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy. And now you got Barry Trotz talking about having to go into rebuild mode potentially. 12 games into the season, they lose again tonight and make it 13 after Ovi scored again on them. Then it's the West is looking quite odd. Obviously, the Flames had that hot start. They've come back down to earth. Only winning 4 of their last 10, which is good, right? And it's what we expected. We knew that that first game that the Flames came back and won. We've sort of had that confirmed that's more of a Shilov's issue than a maybe structure issue. So there's no real reason to be panicking. There's a couple things that there's reason to be decently concerned about. But I think every team in the league has that. So we can go through. We got a few games to go through.
Sure.
And we got a few games to preview, and then we've got a few players to talk about.
Yeah, just before we start that, Parker, I just want to, my man Karan, I think I get the first part. Clay just looked like he defeated Prime Tiger Woods. Yes, I am wearing a golf shirt and smashed 12 sushi rolls. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Is it, I need a haircut? No, that's just my own personal stuff. I don't know, but Karan, I'll take it. Yes, I didn't eat sushi though today. Did you, Parker?
Nope.
Are you a sushi guy, by the way?
No, I'm not a fish guy.
Have you tried it though? Be honest. Have you tried it before?
Sushi, no. Fish, yes.
Okay. I will drive out to Surrey, pick you up on the next time your power is out, and I'm gonna take you out for late night sushi. We're gonna vlog it.
All right. We'll see how that goes. So let's run through these 3 games.
Sure.
And then I'm excited I'm really excited to look at some stats later, because there's some really interesting stats around this Canucks team so far. And then of course, just the potential of getting Demko back is huge, because if you remove Shilovs, and nothing against the guy, but he hasn't been great this year. But if you're putting Lankin as your backup and Demko as your starter, that's a tandem the way it looks right now, because Lankin right now is the best goaltender in the NHL, which I don't think many of us had that on our bingo card. So we are going to very briefly touch on this Devils game. This game was a mess. Devils scored 53 seconds in. It was super low event. It was super uninspiring. The Devils scored 3 in the second, and this thing was just over. You want to know something interesting?
Sure.
Analytically, this game was not as bad as it was to watch.
Really?
Expected goals in all situations, 2.14 to 2.42.
Wow.
Like 53-47 percentage wise. Obviously the goals didn't go that way. High danger chances, 17-9 in favor of New Jersey. But like shots were 22-20. Shot attempts were 55-55. It really was some bad goaltending on the Canucks side, and they really didn't create anything to counteract it. But analytically, this wasn't a terrible game for the Canucks, although on paper it obviously was.
I'll trust you on the analytical side, Parker. I know you get into that a little more than I do. I feel bad for my neighbor who I sold my tickets to, and she didn't even see a goal.
This is a game that I had circled that I wanted to go to too. And
Really?
I just didn't end up pulling the trigger, but I was looking
Yeah.
at tickets day of, and
Wow.
I am very thankful I stayed home.
And the Canucks, they out hit New Jersey 43-20. So that tells me they were engaged, but 6 goals on 22 shots. Not great. Not
No,
great.
no, it's not great. And look, the Canucks played a game that they deserved to lose 2 or 3-0. Right?
Sure.
They didn't play well, and we, you can be like, oh, the analytics are lying here. I mean, they kind of are. But on 20 shots, you'd expect to score 1 or 2 goals. And you really don't expect to get scored 6 times on 22 shots. There was a lot of things at stake here. Canucks didn't generate any offense. And they, like I said, they probably deserved to lose 2-0, but it looks a lot worse because there were some not great goals that got through Shilovs.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's a week ago. I don't know if we need to relitigate the 6 goals. Should we just move on?
I think we should just move on.
Okay, so that game happened.
It happened. The Canucks lost. It makes their goal differential look quite bad.
It's horrible. Yeah,
because they're a team with a +1 goal differential right now. Although I know the NHL does weird things with shootout goals and like shootout winners count as a goal. But either way, Canucks Sharks. This was 4 days ago, so this was on Saturday night, hockey night in Canada, in the Shark Tank. I don't remember much about the first period. Obviously, the Canucks dominated play statistically. Shots were 9-3 in the first. Analytically, the Canucks were by far the better team in this game. At 5-on-5, 81% of the expected goal share in the first period. All situations, there was no penalties in the first period. So 81% of the goal share in the first period. Obviously, they didn't score, but San Jose created absolutely nothing. And the Canucks didn't create a lot either. It was quite low event. Obviously, San Jose gets on the board first in the second period. This is Nico Sturm. I'm trying to pull up the video, but it's being very slow. Because it's 4 days ago. I don't have a perfect memory.
Yeah, it's the one where Sturm centered to Cunnin, and then he kind of both Brandstrom and Heinen. No one picked up Sturm, so he Lankinen made the right open pad save. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that is look for Lankinen's stats. He gives up some big rebounds. like there's a lot of pucks that find their way into the slot. But so that what happens. Lankinen's been really good at recovering on those second chance opportunities. It helps his save percentage a good bit. But about 12 minutes later, the Canucks do tie it. It's Pius Suter. This is this is just a nice play. It's Connor Garland just going in on the forecheck, causes a turnover to come right out in front. Höglander, instead of just shooting this, which he could have just shot it, also could have tried to maybe go backdoor for Garland if he could sneak it through that defender, but he just drops it back for Suter. Suter with a good shot with a screen beats the goalie.
Yeah, and Garland single-handedly made Jake Wallman get benched in the next game because I think the 2 goals, and we'll get to the other one too. I think the 2 goals were Garland out hustling or beating Wallman to the puck. But yeah, that Höglander. So I've recognized that Garland is really good, Parker, at passing out from behind the goal line. Like he's so many of those goals now. He go into the corner, smallest guy, but gets the puck out and finds someone in that soft spot. Really like Höglander's play. He could have taken that shot himself and maybe get it deflected, but he actually dropped it back and ran a tiny bit of interference and gave Suter even more room than he had. I thought it was a great play.
Yeah, no, Garland is he's consistently been the second, or I guess the third best player on this team right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think if you put Hughes 1, Lankinen 2, I think
fair.
Garland's number 3. So no blood really after 2. It's 1-1. Shots were pretty even in the second period. Third period, again, pretty tight. Not a lot going on. I mean, the Canucks, again, pace of play wise, were the better team analytically, and just eye test in this game. Like the Canucks were clearly creating more high danger opportunities. And they finally break through with about 4.5 minutes to go. This one is a breakaway for Besser, goes backhand, forehand off the post. Yeah. And that was one of those just painful ones. Puck gets cleared out. Canucks quick entry back in. They get onside. Quinn Hughes goes down the left wing. He's just so good. Great pass. DeBrusk is all by himself because Hronek
Yes.
went in to create some depth on the defensive side. Great shot by DeBrusk. Just slings this thing from essentially like 3 feet behind him. Just pulls it, rips it glove side. It's a tough shot. It's a great goal. He finally gets one. Took long enough, eh?
Yeah. Did you hear his post game when they were bugging him saying he usually doesn't score his first goal until the first game in November? And he's like, yep, did it again.
Hey, you know what? If he's gonna have, if that's how he starts and he's able to build off that, that's fine. You know, obviously he scored. He scored last night too.
Yes,
So there's back-to-back games. He's gonna score 70 this year, right?
Exactly. He's on pace now. No, not yet. Soon.
Soon.
Great. By the way, and you play hockey more than I do, and so you can obviously shoot the puck way better than I can. I didn't notice this when I did my goal breakdown, but then I heard people talking about that the way that he disguised the play, instead of the way he moved his wrist or turned his wrist over, he was able to put it to the other far corner as opposed to the short side. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, you definitely, there's a lot of wrist action to get it from where he releases this shot, which is a good bit behind him. Like his hips are turned to the blocker side corner essentially, right? To get that going, he really has to throw that left leg back and get those wrists turned over. It's a great shot, you know. It's a good wrister. It's got lots of power on it.
Good.
Yeah, it's a good goal. And for him to get his first with like not just like a weird deflection or something like that.
Right.
And just be like a decisive shot that really should have been the game winner.
Yes.
You know, that's pretty big.
Yeah, you think scoring with 4.5 minutes left, it should be the game winner.
Especially with this team that that you know held every lead last year. It felt like, but Sharks pull the goalie. Just a little too casual in the Canucks zone. I think not enough aggression. Tyler Myers is sort of standing there watching, and maybe Pius Suter not getting, or is it? No, it's DeBrusk. Maybe not getting in there enough.
Yeah.
And Garland just fires it through like 4 bodies where it's tough to see. I'd like a little more aggression there. So the Sharks tied it with 1:17 to go. But then you get Pius Suter, which is sweet. Shot from Susie at the point gets deflected. Connor Garland, like this pass, he goes into the corner. I don't see him shoulder check at any point here. Like he turns, I guess I'm looking at where Suter is the last time Garland could possibly see Suter. There's 2 guys right on him, right? He goes into the corner, no shoulder check, just spin right on the tape. Like that's just knowing, hey, my guy who is in front of the net, he's going to bounce out. That's just a set play that we have. I go for it in the corner. He's going to bounce out and get a few feet of separation. It's on the tape. It's perfectly placed. Suter with a rocket, a sweet goal. But it's just all Connor Garland.
Yeah. Again, the same type of play, this corner this time. Yeah. He's so good. He's playing with so much confidence, and you're right. Great point, Parker, for him to know that Suter was going to be there, and Suter finishes the job. So Garland, 2 nice assists, Suter 2 nice goals. Jake Wallman on the ice for 2 of the 3 goals too.
It's funny because with the whole Wallman thing from last year, I don't think I ever realized he's a defenseman. Like he had such forward vibes to him, right?
Yeah,
like
that's
doing
fair.
it gritty and all this stuff. I'm like, oh, he's got to be a forward. I was shocked in this game to learn that he was a defenseman. Frankly,
maybe he should play forward. I don't know.
maybe. So the Canucks win that one 3-2. Let's do a couple things in chat that we should jump on here. We'll start with Jaskrin with the 279 asking if I'm tired today. I'm exhausted. But thank you very much.
Parker and I have different energies. He's a morning guy and I'm a night guy. And I think you guys have all figured that out by now.
I'm not even a morning guy.
Are you any type of guy? Like what?
Midday. Midday is great.
Parker's a midday guy.
You catch me from like 10 to 6 and I'll be better. Okay. Elfrin with the 699. Thank you, Elfrin. Yeah. Wales beat the Sharks with a dramatic ending and then gave the Ducks a mad spanking a couple days later. Yeah, we'll talk about this Ducks game next. But thank you very much because that was a fun one to watch.
Yeah, thanks to both of you guys for the donations. That's awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay. Another big win. By the way, I know you just talked about the Canucks now having a +1 goal differential, but it's funny, Parker, of all the top like 12, 14 teams in the league, before last night's game, they're -3 because so they're the only team in minus like of any team that's over 600 points percentage. It's crazy because of that, probably because of that 6-0 loss and the 4-1 loss, right? Their two regulation losses were so bad.
And they've been winning some closer games for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's go to Canucks and Ducks last night. This one was honestly like relegation worthy for Anaheim. They looked so bad last night that like it's one of those games where it's like I can't tell if the Canucks played really well or if Anaheim played really bad, right?
Yeah, talk to me. I was bowling, so I had it on, but I didn't hear any what the commentary was saying. Every time I looked up, though, the Canucks were either scoring or having a really good chance.
Yeah, and I didn't watch a ton of this game. You know, I was watching the goals and highlights as they happened, but we can definitely run through all the goals and then we're going to talk about Quinn Hughes because some of the things he did last night were absolutely ridiculous. Anaheim scored first 5.5 minutes in on the power play. I'm trying to pull this goal up here. It's really just a shot from the point.
Yeah.
And it goes in.
You know, it's very similar to that Granlund goal that San Jose scored, where it's from the left point and the guys don't pressure him. Like I get this one's a power play goal. I get it.
Yeah, Granlund was a little closer at least, right? Granlund was at the at the edge of the faceoff circle. This is just from the point, but this is just Shilov's not getting a great eye. Or sorry, Lankinen. Sorry, I said Shilov's because it was a goal from long range. Just a shot from the point that I guess just didn't pick up. It's a fine shot. But that was all Anaheim did.
That's it.
Shots in the first period were 8-6. Canucks scored 2 goals though in the first period, and we'll talk about those. But being 2-1 after 1 against Anaheim, the Canucks really didn't go into their shell like we've seen a lot, right? Like, we got a lead, especially going into the second or third. Because you look at the shot differential, Canucks had 15 shots more than Anaheim by the end of this game. After the first period, they were down 2, so net plus 17 through the second and third period. So Canucks get one back with about 3.5 to play in the period. On the power play, Clay, the power play scored a goal. Now it helps they didn't have to do a zone entry because there was an offensive zone face-off. And this is just a sick play by Hughes. Gets the puck at the point where, JT Miller loves to shoot at Brock Besser's stick for the tip. This is exactly what Quinn Hughes does. Besser's gotten so good at this, at getting his stick in the right spot, that like the threats that Quinn Hughes has when he has the puck, if you're on defense, what are you supposed to do? He can play it to the left side. Normally JT Miller's there. In this case, it was Garland. But hey, on the right side, there's JT Miller. Otherwise, you've got Pettersson on the side, who is maybe less of a threat right now, but still a threat nonetheless. Hughes can now shoot the puck at 93 miles an hour consistently. He can find Brock Besser for the tip in front. Oh, by the way, if Brock Besser lets this puck go, it probably goes to Elias Pettersson, who has a wide open net on the side.
Yes.
Like there's so many threats once Quinn Hughes has the puck and the Canucks can set up in the offensive zone, especially if they're being mobile, which they aren't very often. So a great goal, great tip over the glove. Very nice goal to make it 1-1. And then just a minute later, Canucks sort of ride that momentum. Kiefer Sherwood, man, this guy's great. Nice, good play at center ice, get the puck into the zone. And he just follows, was it, who's he following? Brandstrom?
Yeah, it was Brandstrom.
Brandstrom joins in on the rush. Just a little backhand chip. Nice. Puts it right in the wheelhouse of Kiefer Sherwood, who has enough space to let one go. He just fires a slap shot. He loves that shot on the quick one-timer in the offensive zone. And he's got his third of the year.
Yeah, and they made a big deal, and rightfully so, of the play that set this up, because it was a heroic, nice pass to Heinen. And Heinen did a very simple, just a spin, shielding the puck, and that a very easy zone exit. And then you had Branson with a very confident play. I really like that. Of course, he didn't have really another option aside from that backhand, but it's still a really good pass to Sherwood. And you're right. Sherwood's good, man. Top 6 Sherwood by Christmas. I keep saying it.
Man, if it's look, he's not going to produce a ton, right?
Yeah.
He's got 3 goals. He's on pace for what, like 20 something. That's great. We would take that anytime. But he's also on pace for like 800 hits probably at this point, which is like, that's making an impact for sure. How many hits did he get yesterday? Because the Canucks
Only 3.
only because the Canucks had the
3.
puck most of this game. Well, actually, Ratu with 5, by the way.
Yeah.
So Canucks lead 2-1 going into the second, and they just never looked back. Pettersson gets the lone goal in the second period. And this is one that I think he had, and then he didn't have, and then he had again, much to the chagrin of John Shorthouse.
Have you seen irrefutable evidence that he tipped this puck? Be honest.
No, I have no idea. I mean,
there's one angle where I could see it. There's one
I think
angle.
you can tell it probably was tipped because I think you do see it change direction a little.
Just a bit, yeah.
Like it has a little more flutter to it. But it's one of those ones that's like, I don't know. I mean, they said he did. They said he didn't. I don't know. He doesn't really like celebrate as if he scored.
Yeah, exactly.
But either way, it's a huge shot from the point that he gets. Apparently, Pettersson gets a piece of. Don't know how they determined that. I'm good with that though. Get Hughes all the assists. Get Pettersson some goals. It's a good goal. It's Quinn Hughes just firing pucks now.
Yeah, and compared to, I was just going to say the exact same thing that Irvin just said. You think with Petey, with all the pressure on him, I don't know, maybe this is the whole point. He doesn't show emotion. But if I had all the pressure of the world on me and I tipped a goal or it went off me, I'd be celebrating. I'd be making sure darn well that they knew it was me.
Yeah. Well, it's like in beer league, whenever I'm on the ice for a goal and I say, yeah, I got an assist on that, even if I didn't. Right? They count those stats. You gotta rack those up.
Yeah.
So again, pretty much domination in this second period for the Canucks. I wanted to look at the stat here. Second period at 5-on-5, shots were 14-3 for the Canucks. Corsi, so shot attempts 26-8. Expected goals 1.5 to 0.2. So 89%. 89% of the expected goal share. In the second period, high danger chances 5-1, and that's all 5-on-5. We'll revisit that after the third.
Sure.
Third period, we get a Jake DeBrusk goal, which is great. This is a good shot from the point. I'm trying to pull up the thing here. So it's Besser with a shot from the point. Good shot. Besser's always, he's got a good shot. And Sherwood DeBrusk just gets a little piece of it. You see Miller immediately point to him, and he celebrates as if he scored because he did. So he's got goals in back-to-back games, which is excellent.
Yeah. Him and Petey racing. They have 2 each now.
Yes. Yeah. The race to 15, or whatever the pace is. That's like a 15-goal pace, right? We're 8 games or 11 games in. They get one more in the last couple minutes. It's just is it Ratu on Bluger on a little rush. I just saw a 5. Bluger on the little rush, button hooks as he enters the zone, plays it back up, and Sherwood shot blocked, and then just gathers his rebound. Doesn't try to take another shot because Hyman is snuck to the back door. Nice little pass.
It's such a good play.
Such an easy goal to finish off. And that game ends at 5-1.
Yeah, and they're just bad. I was doing my goal breakdown video, and 3 of the 5 goals, there were no Ducks anywhere near any Canucks. They're just so bad, man. They're just so bad.
It's crazy. So let's go into these numbers a little bit. I'm excluding everything but 5-on-5 because I think the Ducks had an extra power play, or something like that. Let me pull this up. So 5-on-5, shot attempts for this game. So Corsi 56-26. Actual shots at 5-on-5, 26-12. Scoring chances 23-7. High danger chances 10-1. And expected goals 2.63 to 0.54. So an 83% share. It was just domination for the Canucks in this one. But here's where it gets silly, is when you look at player by player.
Yep.
So Quinn Hughes, while Quinn Hughes was on the ice at 5-on-5 last night, Shot attempts were 24-5. Actual shots were 10-2. Goals were 2-0. Expected goals 92% in favor of the Canucks. Scoring chances 11-2. High danger chances 4-0. It's crazy. And you might say, oh, is he starting every shift in the offensive zone? No, even across the board on all of his faceoffs, or where he started all of his shifts. So like it's ridiculous what he's been doing. Now, while we're here, I want to talk about season totals. Again, this is from Natural Stat Trick.
Yeah.
For players that have played 100 minutes, so a very low amount, right? Like that's 10 minutes a game to this point of the season.
Sure.
If you sort at 5-on-5 only by expected goals share while they're on the ice. So when this player's on the ice, which team is expected to score more goals? Quinn Hughes ranks 9th in the league, which 9th is great. It's not crazy high.
Now, that'd be higher.
6 of the 8 players ahead of them are all members of the Carolina Hurricanes. So it seems to me like there might be some sort of system difference that when this one group of players is on the ice, they dominate. So there's that shifts things a little bit. But like the fact that when Quinn Hughes is on the ice at 5-on-5, the shot attempts are 163 to 116. So about 60% share I'm looking at the wrong number. Way off. 279 to 154. So 64% of the shot attempts when Quinn Hughes is on the ice are made by the Canucks. Total shots 138 to 78. Actual goals 13 to 4. Expected goals 12.9 to 6. So 68% share. Scoring chances 134 to 67. High danger chances 58 to 29. So 2/3. The numbers just go on and on and on to the point where it's like it's so clear that he's so dominant. I had one other thing I wanted to mention. I don't know if I bookmarked it or not, but it is I can get this for you in 1 second here. It was the share of it was how much puck possession each player had. TSN showed this stat, I think on SportsCenter last night. Per game, Quinn Hughes controls the puck. He has the puck on his stick for 3.5 minutes per game right now. Mm-hmm. So in a 60-minute game, Quinn Hughes has the puck on his stick for 3.5 minutes of that. The next closest is Cale Makar at 251. So a full 35 seconds of possession. Like he literally plays, he plays 3.5 minutes of the game with the puck on his stick. It's absurd. It's an absurd number.
Wow. So I'd heard a little bit about the shot share and everything when he was on the ice, but I didn't know about this 3 minutes of possession. Do you still have that list, Parker, where you said he was number 9 behind 6 Hurricanes and 2 other guys? Can you get it real quick?
Yep,
Can you just read me the names? I'm just really curious in order, 1 through 8.
So Martinook, Gostisbehere, Stahl, Carrier, Jarvis, and Sean Walker. So those are the 6 Hurricanes.
Oh, so it's not Nature's Aho. Well, that's so weird.
No, Aho's number 13. Svechnikov's number 11.
Yeah.
Like Carolina is dominating this list, which is quite crazy. I mean, they're 9-2. And they're plus 18 goal differential already, and they've won 7 in a row. But yeah, they're dominating analytically.
Sure.
By
and the
far.
2 non-Canes guys in the top 10 or the 3?
Cody Glass, which might surprise you, and Ross Colton. But again, these are 2 centers. Among defensemen, it's Gostisbehere, Walker, and then Hughes is right there as well. And again, I'm just sorting by expected goals for. But if I actually want to check one thing here, and see if it matches what I think. Never mind. I was gonna see if I was thinking like just by like chance generation. So I was just thinking like shot attempts. Hughes is also 9th in that. Although he's played 3 less games than everyone else above him. So maybe that has something to do with it as well.
it's just funny how the 6 Carolina guys, I wouldn't have guessed any of those 6. Like I
No,
would guess, yeah, the good 6.
yeah. Well, they've got some
Wow.
guys that just control possession. It seems
Yeah.
like, and that's
Yeah.
just the way that they're
Yeah.
playing.
Yeah. Carolina 9-2 because they, like the Canucks, one of the few teams that only played 11 games so far. Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. Actually, you want to hear a weird stat, and then we'll talk about more important stuff. There's only 4 teams, Parker, that have played only 11 games.
Yep.
Carolina and Vancouver being 2 of them. And guess what? All 4 teams are in the top 13. Carolina has 18 points in 11. We have whatever we have, 15. The Rangers have 17, and the Stars have 14. So the moral of the story is have a very easy schedule, or at least spread out schedule at the start, and you will start off well.
Yeah, the Canucks, a +1 goal differential right now, but they're 6-2-3 on a 112-point pace, right? That's the number that matters. Obviously, there's, you'd like that goal differential to be higher, but the Canucks are about to add Dakota Joshua to their lineup.
Mm-hmm.
That is, that's a big add to your lineup. They are a few weeks away from adding Thatcher Demko. And the way Kevin Lankinen's playing, that just removes the Shilov's games, right? Like at that point, you're just like, okay, great, Lankinen, you can still play every other game. Demko, you play every other game. Oh, Demko, he's not feeling great. Take a couple games off. Lankinen's putting up a 940 or whatever his number is right now.
Yeah.
Because when you got when you've got a guy that you can fall back on, and say, hey, this he's got a 923. I was a little eager. But if you've got a guy that's putting up a 923 that you can fall back on, that's pretty nice to have. Because look, if the Canucks didn't end up signing Lankinen, and let's say we had that Shilov's Patera tandem that we talked about as a possibility, this team might only have like 3 wins at this point, right? Yeah. The way Shilovs has been playing, like he had a save percentage in the 700s, right?
Yeah.
Patera, I can't he probably wouldn't be that bad, but even if maybe he's like an 890 level of guy, and suddenly a lot of those close games, like even that game against the Sharks that they win 3-2, right? Maybe that one flips, and maybe those games that they lost in overtime, maybe they don't get to overtime, right? Or there's like this Kevin Lankinen signing has kept the Canucks afloat, and he's been one of the biggest reasons that this team is where they are, which is exactly where they want to be at this point in the season. They're on their pace. They're doing just fine. But yeah, they're adding Demko can only help.
That's just crazy, Parker, that in the middle of September, before we signed Lankinen in September 19, whatever, that we were talking about how comfortable would we be with a pairing of Shilovs and Patera?
Yeah. And at that time it was, Shilovs will probably put up like a 900 save percentage and we'll be fine.
Right. Right.
Which clearly is not the case. So I'm glad that we went and signed a goaltender who put up a 908 last year, a 916 the year before, and a 909 2 years before that. It's not like, he's obviously playing really well, but it's not like this 923 is an outlier. It's an outlier for anybody, but we're expecting him to regress to like a 905 to 910 based on his last few seasons, right? We're not expecting like, oh wow, he's way overperforming. He's overperforming, but he's just locked in right now and playing, the best he's ever played. So it's a good place to be.
So I think you and I would agree that because of how good Lankinen is playing, we're actually, we certainly haven't forgot about Demko. He's the title of our show tonight, but there's no rush. We both agree there's absolutely no rush to bring Demko until he's absolutely ready, not just for this season, but just thinking big picture. So that's such a nice luxury to have, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So having said that, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. I was just gonna agree. Like they're at the point where, like if they had only won like 4 games because goaltending's struggling, then there's that pressure.
Yeah. So having said that, Demko was at the first time with the full. So he didn't practice the full because there were 3 goalies, and that you can't have a full practice with 3 goalies. But he was out there with the main group today, which was great to see. So Darren Drager was the one saying it's probably 2 or 3 weeks away. Everything's been positive. So maybe it is 2, 3, 4, maybe it's still sometime in November and in November. What's your guess? Like, not that we're going to hold each other to this, but what's your guess? Do you think 2 or 3 weeks still?
I think it's longer than that.
Okay.
Just because it was 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And now it's 2 or 3 weeks, just sort of extrapolating on that. It's, it's probably going to be longer. And I think that math changes a lot based on how their goaltenders are playing. The fact that what their first back-to-back isn't until another 10 days from now, right? And they have another one like about 10 days after that. And then I don't think they have any until December 18th, right? So there's Lankinen can keep running. Obviously you don't want to wear him out too much, but you do have to realize once Demko is back, ideally, if he's 100% healthy, Lankinen is then on a 40% of games instead of 80% that he's on right now. So you can overwork him a little now because he's going to get a lot more rest throughout the season. Hopefully.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't.
Nope, that makes sense.
Who knows at this point? But it can only help once Demko's back.
Sure. Now let's talk about Joshua for 5 minutes, and then we'll wrap up with the people. So Dakota Joshua, it looked good. It looked like he was trending almost to yesterday, then maybe to tomorrow, but he did not practice today. Rick Tocchet said he didn't call it a full setback. But he didn't say it wasn't either. He basically said, he said not so much a setback, rather we want to proceed cautiously. And that's fine. I think 100% of Canucks fans would agree with that. Same story with Demko. We don't need to rush anyone back because we're playing well. Having said that, let's presume it's Saturday. I don't think it's going to be tomorrow. Let's presume it's Saturday. Where do you put him in? Because you could arguably put him on any of the 4 lines and argue the reason why. But so where do you put him in? Like to me, Parker, it's either you put him in for Suter with Garland and Petey, and then Suter drops in the 4th line center between Hoglander and Sprong, and then Ratu sits. So that's fine. Or I don't think you break up that 3rd line of Heinen, Sherwood, and Bluger. So do you put him on the 4th line and sit one of Sprong or Hoglander? What would you do?
I might break up that 3rd line.
Really?
It's interesting.
Put him with Sherwood and just let them.
Yeah, I could bump Heinen for Joshua because again I think that's an upgrade. The thing is, Pettersson's played with like 6 left wingers already this season or something dumb, right? Like, that's what it feels like. He's played with DeBrusk, he's played with Hoglander, he's probably played a little bit with Heinen, he's played with Suter. He's played. They've stuck Sprong up there. Like they've done everything, and they keep trying everything. So I think that's definitely a place that they'll go to make a move. But Pius Suter's playing really good hockey right now. Like he has genuinely been one of the one of the better players on this team. The thing is, the guys who have been the easiest to move down are the guys that are sort of their best players, right? Jake DeBrusk, Elias Pettersson, Niels Hoglander, right? Guys that you want high up in your lineup that haven't been performing at that high level. Meanwhile, you got guys like Teddy Bluger and Kiefer Sherwood and Denton Heinen being like, I don't want to move those guys down. Pius Suter, I don't want to move that guy down because they're playing so well. The thing is, wherever they put him for game 1, I don't know if it changes. Now, if your thought is, let's just do the Bluger, Garland, Joshua thing again, but with Pettersson in the middle, I don't hate that idea, right? And that's sort of where you were going, I think. So I'm definitely good with taking a spin on that. I'm trying to figure out what happens to the lineup at that point. I guess you take Ratu out, put Suter as that 4C, but that's kind of a weird 4th line, right? Like Suter, Hoglander, and Sprong. That's a lot of offense.
But they did do that for at least one game, like before they moved Suter.
Yeah, they did.
Okay, here.
But go ahead.
Do you agree? Like the first line, that's a no fly zone, right? We're not breaking up Miller, Best, or DeBrusk. Agreed?
I think so. Yeah. I think DeBrusk needs to be like he's on the right track right now. Like goals in back-to-back games, you're not going to touch that, and you're going to see. Okay, can we let that develop?
Yeah. Okay, so I have before they moved Suter up to the second line, and they had Baines there, right, with PD and Garland. I was actually anticipating Joshua to come in to the
Right.
third line, and I think we talked last week about Joshua and Sherwood would be a wrecking machine on the third line together. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's nice to have options. Wow, what a luxury that we're not talking about Jason Megna and guys like that. Right?
Yeah. No, for sure. It's definitely interesting. It's funny. Every guy that they go get for Pettersson ends up on Miller and Besser's line. It feels like, DeBrusk. Oh, DeBrusk is going to be the guy that Pettersson sticks
Right.
with, and now Miller and Besser took him, as seems to keep happening. So yeah, we just need Pettersson to work alongside somebody. But if you can stick Joshua and Garland with him, and that works, and it gets Pettersson going, that would be great. But I think we can predict all we want on what it's going to be for game 1, because by game 3, it's going to be something different.
Before we go to the people, we got a late game tomorrow, 7:30 in LA. Wrap up the 3-game California road trip, and then Saturday night with Connor McDavid, the Edmonton Oilers, and that's it. Those are, presuming we do our show on Monday night, only got 2 games to look at. So, what you thinking? Tomorrow's night's game is going to be tough, right? End of the road trip. LA, I don't think LA's lost at home yet, have they?
LA's playing good hockey right now.
Yeah.
That is a tough one. They're 8-3-3. That's going to be a tough one. And Edmonton coming here, Edmonton's struggling. Their goaltending is their goaltending. Lankinen's getting both of these games, right? I don't think there's any doubt on that. The thing is, I see both of those games as coin flips.
Yeah.
So you give me 1-1.
Yeah.
Because if you flip a coin twice.
Yeah. Yeah. If I had to venture to be more specific, I don't want this to happen. I could see the Canucks losing tomorrow, and I could see the Canucks winning on Saturday night.
Yeah, I could see that too. But again, at home against the Oilers, I think that crowd's gonna be going.
Yeah.
Especially if they win tomorrow and they're coming off, sweeping California.
That's true.
It's like, Saturday night at home, crowd should be going. It's the team that knocked him out in game 7 last year. Like that should, it should feel like a rivalry's developing, right? Because it's one thing. It's like, oh, they beat us in 7 last year, but we're not going to see each other again, because everything's like, hey, there's a decent chance these are the 2 teams from the Pacific, and they're going to meet again in round 2 if that's the case. So I think there's that bit of, that's just sort of hanging over, right? Like, hey, we're going to see these guys in April or May again, potentially. We want to beat them tonight. So I would love it if they could win both. If they go 1-1, that wouldn't be too surprising. If they get 3 points, we'll take it.
Sure. That sounds good. All right. There's our Canucks After Dark official prediction, 1-1. We're just not saying which game's the one and which game's the other one.
Yeah. We're just playing the odds.
I love it. You want to do 10 minutes of people?
Let's go to the people.
All right. There is a question I saw earlier from Peter. Where are you guys with PD? How do you get this guy going? And do you think his struggles have anything to do with Tocchet's system?
So I saw a stat that compared Pettersson's numbers, I think before the All-Star break last year, to Pettersson's numbers under Boudreau, and they were remarkably similar.
Oh,
like pace, like point pace wise and everything. But after the All-Star break, that fell apart, right? I think since the All-Star break last year, he's been on something like a 55 point pace, which is remarkable. Right. Like that is like Jonathan Huberdeau drop off, right? Where he went from 110 to 55 points year over year. That it can't fly. Now, do I think it has something to do with Tocchet's system? I think it could. I feel like there's got to be an injury there. Like it doesn't make sense to me. Because he just looks different. And we keep saying, and I've been saying for a long time, like, I feel like he's too good of a player for this to just be who he is at this point. Right. So I don't know. I don't know where we're at with it. On the bright side, the team's on a 112 point pace. So if you can say, hey, let's say if we're lucky, he figures it out at game 34 of the season, right? Let's say it takes another month and a half for him to figure it out. But he does. If that's the case, then this team looks really good, right? But that's what this team depends on, right?
Yep.
This team is a Stanley Cup contender if they are the team they have now, but Elias Pettersson is elite and nothing else changes. That's the big one. DeBrusk can remain being a little bit underachieving because there's other guys like Kiefer Sherwood more than making up for that if you look at like just from a salary cap efficiency perspective, right? Pius Suter is playing like more than a $1.6 million player. JT Miller is JT Miller. Brock Besser is playing worth more than his salary. Quinn Hughes is playing worth like 2.5x his salary. Quinn Hughes is playing like a $17 million player right now. Eric Brandstrom, like what an addition that's been, right? Especially now with Derek Forbort out for seemingly weeks. From what we've heard today, we're talking more like a month than we are like days. What a trade that Eric Brandstrom trade looks like right now, right? Getting rid of that Pullman contract in the fourth to get Brandstrom, who's filling in and has looked quite good on that third pair. I really like the makeup of this team, but this team's not going to go anywhere unless Pettersson is Pettersson.
Yeah, and the one stat I want to point out is before last night's game, Parker had 15 shots in 10 games. Easy math, 1.5 shots per game. Last night alone, 6 shots on goal. So to me, that speaks of confidence. Maybe he's getting a bit more healthy. And as soon as they start rolling in, even if we don't think they go off of him like last night, so be it. That's awesome.
Yeah, it is Anaheim though.
Fair enough. But you got to play all 31 teams.
Yeah, absolutely.
Between DPD, Lekkerimäki, and Villander, who will be NHL ready first and who would be last? It's got to be Lekkerimäki, right?
It's the forward. It's the forward that's NHL ready first, and he's looking really good right now. Yeah. And it sounds like we're not far away from a potential call-up to the point where, look, once Joshua's back, Suter moves into likely a center role. Joshua takes a winger spot. Ratu drops out of the lineup, probably comes back to Abbotsford so he can play more games because he's still 21.
Yeah.
If a winger goes down at any point, he might just be the guy you call up, right? Like the Canucks don't have a forward in the press box right now, right? Like they don't. It's correct. Just Forbort and Juleson, and Forbort's likely going to go on IR here soon. And obviously Joshua is on IR. So you got to think like, if Joshua comes back in and plays on the wing, Ratu drops down, and then any forward gets injured for a meaningful amount of time, like Lekkerimäki just might be the guy they call up, especially if it's someone in the top 6, right? And they don't want to mess with a couple of the lines. Then we might be seeing him pretty soon.
Yeah, Irvin has an interesting theory. Have we underestimated the importance of the relationship between Shilovs and Ian Clark? Does it have everything to do with it, nothing to do with it, or a safe answer is something to do with it?
It might. I think we're still just talking about a 23-year-old goalie who's played a handful of pro hockey, right? I don't think losing your goalie coach at the beginning of a season is going to knock 160 points off your save percentage, right? Yeah. I think you can be in a slump. I think teams can have the book on you, which is not helping, right? To the point where I think he just needs development time. I think he needs a year or two in the AHL playing a bunch of games, with a bunch of goaltending coaching. He shouldn't be the one having to carry this team. He's not a first round goalie, right? That's not what he was. Goalies that get picked in the first round at around 23, you're like, maybe they'll start to get some NHL games and we'll see how they do. Not, hey, we want you to carry the workload, or play 30 games this season. It's just not how goaltending works.
Yeah. Very good. I like this question from Daz Money. Is the current defense core good enough to win 16 playoff games? I would venture no.
No, and I think they'll add, right? I think
Yeah.
that's a given, right? They are doing all this cap space sort of manipulation every day, right? They're sending guys down, pulling guys back up, sending guys down,
Hmm.
pulling guys back up. Just keep doing it over and over because every time they do that, they accrue like 9 grand in cap space at the deadline, right? It's not a ton,
Yeah.
but you do it enough times, and now you can add maybe $1 million extra. They're going to go add a defenseman at or before the deadline. We've heard that apparently they're already looking around, which seems a little silly if you're trying to maximize cap space. But if you want that long term, chemistry building and you want to finish first in the division, I can kind of see why. Hughes and Hronik is a playoff first pair. That's a team that like that's a pairing that's good enough. Susie Myers is iffy. I'd love to add a
Yeah.
top four, right? If you can bump, like Susie hasn't looked like he looked last year. He seems to have declined a decent bit. Myers,
Yeah, I
I think,
agree.
has been quite similar. We haven't seen a real drop off in Myers. But I think if you can add a number 3 defenseman and just bump one of them down, suddenly now your fourth pair is Brandstrom Myers potentially, right? It's a fine third pair. And then you
Yeah.
have Susie and a top 4 D man. Now it's going to be tough to find a number 3 right shot defenseman. That's
Yeah.
not an easy ad. But you never know. So I think right now, is it good enough to win 16 games? Hughes might make it good enough by himself, honestly. But they're going to add.
Imagine we get a right shot D man, just for hypothetically speaking, Rasmus Anderson, right? And then imagine this: Brandstrom continues to develop enough where we're confident enough as him a second pairing guy, and then Susie Myers is our third pair. Wouldn't that be sweet?
Yeah, and then we're talking. And the thing is, if they somehow go get Rasmus Anderson, which he's going to be expensive. What does he make?
Yeah.
He makes something in the fours,
4-5. Yeah, 4-5.
Silly, and he makes that next year, right? So that is a hey, we are
That's why
getting two. You're getting two deadline buys essentially, right?
got it.
He is going to cost a fortune, but we'll see. I wouldn't, I wouldn't put it past this management group to go take a shot like that, because that immediately turns that into a real high caliber defensive core.
Yeah. And let's end with this one about Jake DeBrusk. Edmund says, do you feel DeBrusk will get on a roll scoring wise?
He's always been streaky. That's what we've heard, right?
Yeah.
So look, back-to-back games with a goal. If he can score a couple, let's say he scores like 4 in the next 8 games. If he or 4 in the next 7 games, continuing that streak, and then maybe goes down a little bit, goes back a little bit. Yeah, I could totally see it. There's definitely a confidence thing, right? Especially playing on a new team with line mates you haven't played before. There's especially when you don't score for the first like 9 games of the season, that sucks. Like you're just battling and you're like, man, why can't I get anything to go? And you're trying to find your role, but you score a couple and you start to get a little bit of that swagger going, and you feel like every time you're on the ice you have a chance. Especially playing with guys like Miller and Besser, right? These are two really smart hockey players. Brock Besser is so good at finding the soft spots on the ice, and DeBrusk is just gonna like if DeBrusk really clicks with those guys, he's gonna rack up some points.
Well, PD just laments from the side, but that's we'll get PD some good wingers eventually. Well, Garland's one, and Suter's been okay, so he'll be fine.
We gave him Mikheyev.
And Kuzmenko.
And Kuzmenko, yeah, 2 really good wingers
that are gone.
Did you see that Pug Colson fight?
Yeah, impressive.
Sweet.
Jeremy Lazon, right? Who's a tough guy. Yeah.
Just
All right, so are we going to attempt? Yeah, like we'll do Monday night show, right? Remembrance Day, Monday. Yeah, November 11th.
Sounds good to me.
Me too. We have two big games to talk about, and then a big. Then right after that, they're in the middle of their homestand where it's game off for like all the way until that weekend that you're talking about.
Good. It's honestly, it's felt so slow the start of the season.
11
They're
games.
playing,
Exactly.
They're playing 2 games a week, 3 games a week. I miss the every other night, especially as it starts getting dark here at 4:30 or whatever it is. Yeah, I want hockey every night.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. Well, it'll start to pick up a little bit starting next week.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Well, obviously that will, but hopefully they keep winning is what I mean.
Yeah, that's what I mean for sure.
All right, folks. Thank you all for joining. It's been good to have you all. Next week, 10 p.m. Monday. That's our normal time. Thank you all for showing up on a Wednesday. We appreciate it. If you missed any part of the show, you can rewind back to the beginning here on YouTube, or you can find it on your favorite podcast platform in a matter of moments. Hit like, hit subscribe, do all that good stuff. One day I'll fix my camera. Clay, any parting words this evening?
Good to be back. Glad you have power. Looking forward to the Canucks showing their power tomorrow night. And it'll feel like a bonus doing another show just 5 nights from now. So looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Make sure you're subscribed, folks, with notifications on. Hit that like button, and we will see you next week.